Hey everyone, so I made a video about how to install the Z1 big brake track kit on the front of my Q50, so now I'm going to make a video on how to install the rear ones. I'm going to get started by taking the caliper and rotor off and see what we got from there. Alright, before I take my caliper off, I'm going to take the brake pads out. You'll see here on these slider pins, they're two little clips. Just got to take them out with my pick tool, and then we can get the caliper pins out. Alright, got my little safety clips out. Now I'm going to be taking my caliper pins out. Just going to slide them as far as I can. This is sort of similar to taking the brake pads out of the front. The easiest way I found is if put your thumb on here and push that down, release tension, and then you can pull the pin all the way out with your other hand. Which is difficult for me to show you while I'm holding the phone, but you just follow that process. Very easy. Alright, got my caliper pins out. I'll take this clip out here. And I'll be removing the brake pads out of there. Just slide them up. A little trick that I always do and try to show people is, put like a screwdriver in this hole here, kind of press it towards the caliper. You'll get the pistons to go in. So it'll be easier to just pull it up. And of course, you always want to, before taking your brake pads out, make sure you got that piston all the way in. So when you go to install new brake pads, it'll go right in. In this case, I don't really care, but best practice, I just do it anyway. Alright, get my brake pads out. Now I will be removing this caliper from the bracket. Alright guys, and I get these bolts out. To remove the caliper, we got two 19 millimeters, so start taking them out. And guys, just a little trick that I always do, because I always struggle to get these rear calipers off. I just put a pipe over my 3/8 ratchet. That gives me more leverage, and then I'm able to break it free a lot easier. And I'll do the same thing for the bottom bolt. That was for the top bolt, so just a little trick in case you're struggling. Alright, I got my caliper off. I'm just going to set it to the side right now. I'm going to leave the brake line on. My preference, you could take the brake line off and just let it drip into oil pan or something, but I'm just trying to prevent losing too much brake fluid and letting the manister run dry, because I always forget to go back up there and check it and add fluid periodically, so I save that step for last. Next step, just going to get this rotor off and then go from there. Alright, my rotor came right off. That's because I literally just rebuilt these, maybe not even 3,000 miles ago. These Z1 two-piece rotors, and I just replaced these rear parking brake pads. But anyway, I'm just going to, for best practice again, get my wire brush and clean up that hub. And just make sure that's as smooth as I can possibly get it. And I'm suspecting that this backing plate is going to need a lot more modification than the front one did, or I may just end up taking it completely off, because as you can see on this one, we got this groove here that goes over the rotor. There's the old rotor. Here's the new one, which is way bigger. So I'm gonna try to figure out what I want to do. And let's see. Yep guys, as I figured, there's absolutely no way the rotor's going on with the backing plate like that. So I'm gonna take a look and see how hard it is just to take it off, and if it's extremely difficult, then I'll probably just cut that groove out with my angle grinder. Alright guys, well, you can see which route I took. I looked back there and I didn't see it being particularly easy to take off. So just cut it with a good old angle grinder, the cutting wheel. Yep. There it is. So that's my best suggestion. So now I'm just going to put the new rotor on. I'm going to make sure that my brake pads, parking brake pads, are adjusted properly and hitting it just right, not too tight, not too loose, and then move on. Well, I guess first I'm going to put on the caliper adapter, because I also want to make sure that it clears right here. I have a feeling I might have to cut a little bit more. We're going to see before I put that rotor on. Alright guys, and I had a feeling I might have to make another little cut. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if I really have to. I mean, it goes on okay, but the issue is if I don't cut it, and like I want to bend this back more, if I have to, when I get the rotor on, so it doesn't make contact, I won't be able to because it's going to hit right there. So I'm just going to make another little small cut. Alright, there we go. Made another cut. Now I'm just going to put the bolts in to the adapter over here and get them torqued up. Just got to go to Z1 and see what the torque specifications are. It's just going to be the bolt you took out, go in for the adapter. And another recommendation, if you do end up making the cuts like I did, I just take some brake clean, clean it up in case any metal chunks or anything went flying in there. But alright, let's move on. Alright guys, I myself sometimes actually have to follow instruction manuals and videos, but don't we all? So the bracket's going to go like this, but the bolts are going to come in through the front way. In order to make this happen though, I had to bend this a little bit to get the bolt through. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to put the washer like that first, and then put it in, and I'm going to do the same thing up here, and then once I get that other bolt in and I torque it, and then I'm just going to bend these back. And I just used a pair of channel locks. Pretty easy. Alright guys, in this case I'm not going to be able to get a torque wrench in there with a socket anyway, because I'm just going to hit this and we have to keep bending the hell out of it and then bend it all the way back. So I'm just going to use best judgment. I'm just going to get a 19mm wrench and tighten it up. It says it's only 62 foot-pounds of torque, so I should be able to kind of guesstimate that. I'll just make sure I won't over tighten it, and then I'll move on. Now if you guys want, you can bend this back probably more, maybe get a socket in there, but I think I should be good this way. Alright guys, got them bolts in. I could have bent these back with the channel locks, but since I got the bolt in there now, I was having a hard time getting a grip on them, so just took the hammer and hit it until it was straight again. So now I'm going to get the rotor on there. And of course, make sure you clean your rotor off with the protective film that the manufacturer's put on there. Just get some brake clean, go around each side and wipe it off with a rag, and then you can install it. Okay guys, and another important thing is to make sure you have the right direction. Now on the front, I seen it was marked left and right, but I'm not seeing that in the rear at all. It could be that I'm blind, but I don't see any numbers or anything on this rotor. So all I did was I went to the front and I made sure that these inside coolant tubes, vents, whatever you want to call them, line up exactly the way that the front ones do. And that's how you'll figure out if you have the right one on correctly. So the vents going like this way, it's for the driver's side. So just to make everyone's life easy. Also guys, when you're putting rear rotors on, make sure you're putting them on to where this hole can get into the adjuster. So you can adjust the pads while you have the rotor on, instead of taking it on and off each time to make sure you have it set correctly, not too tight and not too loose. I'll take this off real fast just so I can point to it for you guys. So you just want to make sure that the hole lines up with this adjuster right there. And then from your old rotor, you just want to take the rubber piece out when you're all done adjusting it and pop that in. There you go. Now I also made sure my backing plate clearance was good, nothing's hitting. So now I'm going to go and put the new caliper on. Alright guys, I just wanted to mention before I forget, remember you do need the stainless steel brake lines in order for this to work. I already had installed them a little bit ago, so I'm good, but just a heads up in case you were doing this, you do need the stainless steel brake lines. Okay, also remember, very simple, you always want to make sure your bleeders are at the top. That's how you know you got the caliper on the right side. Cannot put the caliper on the wrong side with the bleeders facing down, otherwise you'll never be able to bleed it and you'll be screaming wondering why, and that's the reason why. Bleeders always at the top. Alright, and I'm just starting to put my bolts in. 2 bolts, one here and one here. And this is the 10 millimeter, kind of like Allen hex style socket. I forget exactly what the right name is. It's a HW10. So start to tighten them up. And there is torque specifications for these. My only problem is I don't have a 3/8 torque wrench, so I'm just gonna tighten it to what I think is the best, just with my regular 3/8 ratchet. And if you did want to torque these to the correct torque spec, it is 58 foot-pounds. Alright, got the new caliper on. It's looking good. Oh, another tip too, if you want to make sure your rotor is completely flush, just run a lug nut down. You might struggle a tiny bit to get it on if you don't have it completely flush and in the correct spot. But now I'm going to put the brake pads in. Alright guys, just prepping my brake pad, just putting some grease on the back of it and on the side so it slides in smoothly. I'll do that for both pads. Alright, got both my brake pads in, slid them in. Now I'm going to start putting the hardware on there. Alright guys, so the video of instructions that I found, they pre-put the brake pads in before they put the caliper on, which I wouldn't do that because change pads, you're going to have to do it on the car. But anyway, moving forward, they put the pin in the bottom first, so I'm going to start by doing that and lining up the holes, and then I will show you the next step. Alright guys, so this is kind of a pain, but I'm not going to be able to show you holding my phone. You have to get this part right here to go behind this. And in order to do that, I found you may have to kind of pull up on each side a little bit to make it easier, and then kind of push it down. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. I'm going to do that now. Alright guys, this is what the final result looks like. I put a tiny dab of grease on the top of the pad on each side here, just so it would slide on there a little bit easier for me. So now I'm going to push that down and put the pin in this side. Alright guys, the next obstacle is when you're putting this caliper pin in, you have to press this down. Seems pretty tight, but next thing I'll be able to show you while I'm holding my camera, but I'll show you what the end result looks like. Just going to push that down as hard as I can and put the pin over it. Alright guys, here's what the final result looks like. it wasn't too bad. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my brake line on. When I do it, I'm going to make sure it's not twisted or kinked in any way. And I'll show you how I have it once I do that. So I'm going to do that next. Alright guys, and I'm all done. It'll be the same procedure for the other side. So I won't show you guys that, but here's how I have the brake line rang. No kinks, no twists, just like that. And the 19-inch sport wheels do clear. I tested them in the front. So if you have 19-inch sport Infiniti wheels, they will clear. I'm not sure about any of the other ones. Obviously, also you got to bleed the brakes after you're all done installing your new calipers and rotors. I'm going to make a separate video on just the brake bleeding procedure itself, so you can stay tuned for that. But hope I was able to help you guys out and show you something pretty cool. These GTR brakes are pretty impressive and way bigger than the regular AccuBono sport brakes, so I'm anticipating this thing is going to stop very well.